it to update firmware. So I've tried plugging it into a Mac. I've tried plugging it into a PC. I've tried plugging this into a Mac. And I've tried to... Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today it is what triggers you, and what triggers me? Well, first of all, shooting things twice, that triggers me, which is the case right now because as I'm going into my editor, I realize that my wife is actually again in the background. That's what happens when you work from home. She's in the background talking, having a meeting or whatever, and I can't really use that video footage. It's not like everything sounds great in my kitchen dining area anyway with the echo, but I definitely don't need my wife talking in the background to distract. And then the second thing, which is actually what the video is about, is triggers. So of course, this is stupid dad joke, whatever. I figured out it was a way that I could maybe get some type of a stupid clickbaity title. Anyway, what triggers you? Dude, freaking triggers, right? Old, newer, and what I've actually been using lately. This is the Godox X3 Pro. First, let's kind of discuss. This is the old Godox trigger that I used to use. I took the batteries out. Actually, when I recorded the video the first time, it still had batteries in it. Hadn't been used in probably like a year and a half, 2 years. It powered right on. This is what I learned flash on, or this is the trigger that I learned on. From there, I went to here. This is, what is this? The R2 Nano. I think this is Flashpoint's version. I'm not sure exactly what Godox version is, but they're basically the exact same thing. That is that right there. This is a touch screen, and so of course you can kind of touch it. I don't know if you guys have been using that or not. Then when I actually had Newer start sending me stuff, Newer sent me this trigger here. What is this? I don't even know the name of it, but that's okay. It's their Newer trigger. Very, very similar in, of course, now I've got it. Similar in looks to this, right? And so same type of feel. This one was very comfortable for me. This one also was very comfortable. Still a little bit of a learning curve, of course, with these analog type. Well, that's what I'm going to call them, analog type. But then, you know, once they start going a little bit digital, then it all goes from there. And then you guys have kind of seen some of my issues that I've had with this. This is Newer's new QZ trigger. And I mean, it's a fantastic trigger when it works. I say fantastic. It's a good trigger when it works. There are some growing pains with this. And unfortunately, with this trigger here, I have not been able to actually get it to update firmware. I've tried plugging it into a Mac. I've tried plugging it into a PC. Neither of them recognize the trigger, which, you know, initially I kind of thought, well, maybe it's just, you know, whatever. It's Newer, but I went to upgrade the Newer Q6 strobe in the computer. As soon as I turned it on, the computer saw it right away. So I'm not able to actually update the firmware in this. So some of my issues could actually be just the trigger. Maybe it's just a faulty trigger, who knows? But this is the Godox X3 Pro. This is the trigger I've been using lately. Godox did send it out to me, so yes, this is sponsored. I unfortunately don't really have accompanying video with this because I'm not going to shoot video of me doing my sessions behind the scenes and then do, you know, a head angle view of the trigger. I just am not going to do that. That's just not how I typically do it. But what I will do is I'll power it on and I'll just kind of show you, you know, going through some of this stuff. I'm not actually going to go through every single freaking page. There's a lot of pages in this thing. But really kind of the thing that, as I kind of was saying, what triggers me, right? So when you start using strobes and you start going with off-camera flash, you've got to have a way to trigger those flashes. And so this is where I learned on it, right? And so I got this and I used it and I started to finally figure it out. And like with your camera, what I tell people all the time is get to the point with your camera to where everything is natural, everything flows. If you need to make some adjustments, you can make some adjustments. Maybe it's dark and you can't actually see the settings. You should know the camera like the back of your hand in order to make those adjustments that you need to make. And I would say almost to the same extent with your flash trigger, know it like the back of your hand so that you can go through and do what you need to do, especially even if you can't see all the buttons that are on there. And, you know, some don't illuminate, some might, I don't know, but like, you know, if it's sitting up on top and you need to make a quick adjustment, you can make some quick adjustments just knowing the trigger. Well, after like 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years of actually using this trigger, then Godox comes out with their R2 Nano, well, Flashpoint, I say that. Again, I don't know the equivalent, and I'll get it listed below. But they came out with this, and this one's awesome. This is their little touch screen. I'll power it on here, the R2 Nano. And as you can see, it's a touch screen, right? So you can just touch through, do all that kind of stuff, you know, pull your menu screens down, all whatever you need to do. That's that. But look at that. I mean, look how little that is. Compare that to this, right? So that's a big difference. One of the main things is as you can see, say you've got 5 groups of lights. Well, look right here, you've got 5 buttons on that side right there that you can access all 5 groups right away easily if you need to. On this, you really only can see 3. And so if you want to see the others, you kind of have to scroll through. So some people kind of were complaining that this is a little bit small. You don't get to see everything, you know, so you have to scroll through and do that kind of stuff. First world problems, for real, that's what this stuff is first world problems, y'all. You know, if you really cannot figure out how to use this flash and, you know, it's just blowing up your world, there's worse things going on in the world. That should not be it. But that said, going from this to this was a big change. And when I actually decided, okay, so I had this, I bought this, and I put this on and I used it for like 2 or 3 shoots. And man, right away, I was like, nope, I took it off and I actually left it off for about a month. And then I just went back to this Old Faithful, right? And so I knew this one like the back of my hand. This one I did not. But then finally I was like, man, I've got to learn the new trigger. And really this was about a year ago, 1.5 years ago that I bought this thing. And then boom, all of a sudden freaking Godox comes out with this. And this is fairly new, brand spanking new, like just a couple months old. But as you can see, and I'll show you again, we've got here and we've got here. So look at the size difference. You do still have the little scroll wheel on it. You've got your sync cable port there. You've got a USB-C charger right there. This thing holds a charge for freaking ever, y'all. Like, I don't think I've actually charged it once, other than the first time, maybe twice, but this holds a charge forever. But look at that. You can actually see 4 groups now, and not 5, but you can see your 4 groups. Again, you've got your menu screens there. You can pull down, let's see, you can, and again, I'm still kind of learning this thing, but you know, your wireless so that you can select your channel, your ID. You can do your sync, your scan. Let's go back into here. You go into your main menu and you can kind of slide around. Again, I'm not going to go through every one of these pages. There are people that will actually go through and click on each one of these buttons. That's not what I'm going to do. I never do that with any of my reviews. I'm not going to start doing it now. But what I do want to tell you is I like this one better than this one. I think it's a good upgrade. It's a good update to the Trigger platform. This one was fine. I think this one's better and more where it's at. And compare it to the original, the OG that I had, it's still a lot smaller. So it's a good compromise going from this to this and then now back to this. What I will say, and I've actually mentioned it probably, well, no, I haven't mentioned it. I mentioned it in the video that I shot before. Now I'm having to reshoot. It's true with this one, it's true with this one, and it was true with this one. One thing that people have actually complained about with these touchscreen triggers is there's no haptic feedback at all. And initially I kind of was like, first world problem again, right? But it actually, I think it has a little bit of validity to it after using it, especially with this one, because it's taken me a little bit to kind of figure it out. I feel like it's a little different than this. So like, for instance, you know, if I'm going to change the power of my flash, you know, as I'm scrolling, you see my fingers right over top. So if it's sitting on my camera and I'm changing it, more than likely, I'm not going to the one side that has the plus. I'll show you that. You got one side that's got a plus, one side that's got a minus. I'm not going to the one side and just tapping. I'm not going to the other side and tapping. I'm scrolling through with my finger because it's touch, right? And so I'm just going to do like this. Well, what would be nice is actually, and I wouldn't want haptic on every one because it doesn't make sense, but on your main increments, full power, half power, quarter power, eighth power, it would be nice to get a little bit of a haptic feedback, because if you're fat fingering it, and my fingers aren't fat, but if you're fat fingering it and your finger's right over top of that power, you don't necessarily know what the power is. So, you know, you can kind of see if I'm going like this right over top, I don't actually see what I'm adjusting. So you can go here to one side or to the other side and do it, but I think a haptic feel would be fantastic. Now, of course, having some type of a haptic feedback is going to more than likely increase price, which is probably also why they don't put that in there. And eventually over time, after you've been using it for a while, you're gonna be able to do that. Now, here's the cool thing. You don't actually have to do that if you don't want to. I can click there and I can also use my dial, right? So, but let me just show you exactly what I just did. If I can get back to my main menu there. Nope. So right, I'm here, right? So say I want to go in and I want to adjust A. I tap on A, and I don't even want to do that. Say I want to adjust my A group, my A group, right? So I'm going to select using the dial. I select that. So as you can see, now it's got a white little box around it. Well, my brain thinks right away that I can adjust. Well, as I turn that dial, I'm not adjusting. I just hit a button. When I've got that white selector on, all I'm actually doing is I just selected my groups. I haven't actually done anything. But for me, when I get that initially, I want to actually start adjusting. You have to hit it again. So now it's got an orange box around it. And so now I can actually make those adjustments if I want to make those adjustments. That's just something for me to get used to. I just have to figure out, you know, again, to get used to it. So really, and I don't want this video to be any longer than it already is. It's at 13 minutes and I really wanted this video to be a short video, but do I think Godox did a good thing with this upgrade to their trigger? Absolutely I do. I would say that whether I bought it or not. I actually like the size of it much better than the Nano. The Nano is nice. I mean, it's a little bit less weight on the camera, you know, when you're sitting there doing stuff. This one feels heavier than this, but granted there's no batteries in it, so I really should compare it more with this. And they feel basically about the same weight. So it's probably very similar weight on top of the camera, but I like having the bigger screen size on there. You know, it is nice. And if I can, I'll get some specs kind of off to the side just so that you can kind of see some of the specs of this thing. But it is a nice trigger. It's a great upgrade. The problem is having to learn new things, man. I just turned 50. I don't want to have to constantly be learning new things over and over and over again. And man, I just finally figured out this one. And then they sent this one out and I'm like, now I got to learn again. So really, is it a good option, a good thing to purchase? Sure, it is. If you have the R2 Nano, do you need it? No, you don't need it. If you have this one, do you need it? You know, I would actually probably say maybe consider one or the other. And the reason I would say that is you've got some of these newer strobes that are coming out, the version 2 models, and they're going to be much better with these paired to them because you just have a little bit more stuff going on inside these that are going to talk to those much better than this old dinosaur relic here. Yeah, so again, it's nice, especially if you've been using a trigger like this, having those buttons, having that feel of buttons, I think gets you into a comfort zone that is very difficult to get out of when you're going to full touch screens. And it does take time. It takes a little bit of time to learn. I will not lie to you on that. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. It takes time. But what I would say is, unlike this one, as I said, when I got this one, I put it on, I went out and did like 2 shoots, and then I immediately took it off and stopped using it for a month. This one, when I got it, I said, I'm going to take this one off and I'm not going to go back. I'm going to just use this one. And so I've been learning this one. It still takes a little bit of time because my brain doesn't know exactly what slide goes to what, you know, but the more you use it, the more comfortable you get with it, it's going to get to kind of like that back of your hand feel, right? You're gonna know all the ins and outs of it. And I bet you as soon as you get to the point where you're like, dude, I know this thing backwards, forwards, front, top, bottom, whatever, they're gonna come out with the X3 too. So again, it's a trigger, guys. It fires your flash. That's what you really needed to do. And the cool thing is I've actually been using this with my Q lineup of strobes now that Newer has sent me. So I'm actually able to fire this with other brand strobes, and that's fantastic. So guys, thanks for sticking around. This review video was a little bit longer than I wanted. Nobody wants to sit and watch freaking 16, 17 minutes of a talking head, and here I just did that for you, and I apologize, but it is a Friday video, so I try to do this a little bit different than my Wednesday videos. But if you need a trigger, I would definitely go out and get this one over this one. They will both work just fine, but why spend basically the same amount on this as you will on this? Comes in this beautiful, nice little bag that I've actually been taking out with me. You know, it's just nice. It really is nice. It's a great option. Again, Godox, thank you for sending this to me. I really do appreciate it. It recharges very quickly. And like I said, it holds a very long battery charge. I haven't had to worry about it at all. So if you like what you see, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the little bell for notifications. Until next time, y'all, keep shooting. Bye.